Hey bike farmers, thanks for clicking in. I am just pulling into Northeast Minneapolis. I'm heading to Recovery Bike Shop and I'm meeting up with Seth and I think Elizabeth. And we're gonna take a look at their shop, and then one or both of them is gonna take me on a tour of Minneapolis via bicycle. They're gonna show me all the cool spots. They know a little bit about the history, talk about their business and their city, and show me around. This is the very first time I try this. This is going to be hopefully a new video series that I can go to other cities. Let me know down in the comments or shoot me an email. You can go to bikefarmer.com and contact me. If you live in a city and know a lot about it and want to host me, who knows? Maybe we can put something together and I'll fly out and do it there. Yeah, I'll be pulling up here in a minute. Just on the other side of this bus is the Recovery Bike Shop. You can see the bike up on the roof and very cool mural of Northeast Minneapolis. We're on, oh, I gotta go. We are on the corner of Lowry and Central. And these people need to get out. And I'm using my Merlin for this project. Brought my road bike around because we're doing a 200K tomorrow. Probably gonna want some water. Hello, is Seth around?
Yeah, I believe it's upstairs.
Upstairs? What's up?
Hello, sir.
There's the guy.
How's it going?
Good to see you.
Are we live?
Oh yeah. Never not.
Okay, well, welcome to my kingdom. I'm Seth Stadmiller, and this is Recovery Bike Shop. I've been selling bikes for about 20 years, started as Recycle in Uptown, Minneapolis. Brent Fuquay started Recovery Bike Shop 17 years ago, 16 years ago. We got together and merged the whole thing. We worked together for about 5 years, then we went our separate ways, and now it's me and my wife and a whole bunch of people that make this engine run.
Cool.
We are a used bicycle shop. We sell between 500 and 1,000 bikes a year. We sell to people who are generally buying their first adult bicycle, which means we put 500 to 1,000 new riders on the streets of Minneapolis every year, which I find really exciting and compelling and energizing. We sell bikes to people who are weekend warriors and recreational riders and stuff, but we also sell bikes to students and errand runners and grocery getters and people who are trying to go carless. Transportation is what I get super excited about. So the more we can support people who are replacing car trips, the more exciting that is for me. You can get a lot of bike for 500 bucks or less at Recovery Bike Shop. We sell more hybrids than anything else. This is hybrid lane, so to speak. The bikes are all torn apart and rebuilt and warrantied. We have a slow, patient sales process because so many people are buying their first bike. They come to us and they say, I want a bike. And that's about as much as they can tell us about the picture of a bike that they have in their mind. And so it's our job to sort of extract that bike picture that they have and figure out what they want to do, how they want to ride, who they want to ride with, their purpose, all of those things. And then get them out on test rides, find the perfect fit, find the perfect posture, find the perfect use, so that they will become a rider. It's much more fun to create riders than it is to sell bikes. So that is always the goal when somebody comes in to buy a bike. We also sell road bikes, which I think is the perfect paved city bike. But this used to be our bread and butter. The road bike was the thing that everybody wanted in the 2010s. And we still sell plenty of these, but it has moved closer to the hybrid these days.
Okay.
So these are the mountain bikes. Pretty standard, mostly 26-inch. All of our bikes are donated. We don't buy bikes. We got a handful of stolen bikes once upon a time, and so we just stopped buying bikes. So we rely on donations. We get 3, 4, sometimes 5,000 bikes a year. And it takes 4 or 5 donated bikes to get one that's good enough to fix up and sell and put on the floor. So we have to process thousands and thousands of bikes to get 500 to 1,000 people on bikes every year. Half of those bikes that we get donated, probably about half, go to West Africa. They get shipped we have a Rolodex of partners that are basically shipping bikes back home to West Africa, where the bikes really are transportation. They really are getting people to work, getting people to school, getting people to the grocery store and whatnot. And that is super exciting, just to have, bikes that used to be in basements and garages, languishing and not being ridden, back on the road, hopefully here or in West Africa, is a much better use than collecting dust in a garage.
What I know about you, I think you do more charitable work than just about anybody around.
Yeah.
But it's a for-profit used bike shop.
Yeah. It's for profit. Someone once said we're 90% action and 10% advocacy.
Okay.
So like the purpose, the mission, building community, activating public spaces. I dream of a world where walking and biking is more convenient than driving. That's what gets me excited. But we are all about selling bikes, getting bikes back on the road, reuse, empowering our neighbors, all of that stuff.
Cool. It's like a big version of Gibbs bikes.
Yeah.
Just in a town of 3 million people instead of 6,000. All right. So I got fancy new mics just for this purpose, thinking I could hook 2 mics up to my action cam, but apparently I can only hook 1 up. So we're going to be sharing this mic. I'm going to leave it on him, so you won't hear my questions, but he's just going to talk while we ride. We're going to go ride around, primarily Northeast Minneapolis. We may see something else.
Yeah.
We'll see where he takes us.
Hope you like it.
All right, this is Seth's bike. You want to tell us about it?
It's a Kona Jake the Snake frame. I don't think anything else on it is original. It came to us as a frame. It came to us bent. It's out of alignment. So we couldn't build it and sell it. So it hung in the rafters for 2 years. And we couldn't throw it away because we all loved it so much. And so we finally built it up. I just thought, all right, well, this will be a loaner bike. And I just absolutely love it. So it's my daily rider now. Michael built this up before his year-long tour of the world. And he focused on putting red highlights on it. Most recently, we had the brakes replaced because the Clark brakes would not stop squeaking no matter what we did. Otherwise, it's just odds and ends that were lying around the shop. Welcome to Northeast Minneapolis. This is the Northeast Minneapolis Arts District, which is a city designation given to this area because of how much, watch out for the cars, because of how much art is here. This is, there's, 12 and a half huge art buildings full of artists, living, working spaces, Art of Worlds in Northeast every year. That's a national event. Take a right here. And there's art to be found everywhere in Northeast. To our right is Jackson Square Park, and these are sculptures by local artists. The backstop here is by a local artist. The screen for the power stations, whatever those are, local artists. The bridge is by a local artist. This is Edison High School. Their sign is a local artist. The pit here is a flood basin, just fun fact. This area is relatively low lying. The Mississippi is a mile from here, and it gently slopes all the way there. And so every 10 years, there might be a major flood that floods basements and things, but every 50 to 100 years, there can be just a terrible, terrible incident, water storm incident. And so they put this flood basin in to help mediate that. And it makes a huge difference. I could just keep showing you art. There's art everywhere. Let's go to the Northrop King building. So this is I call it the 18th Street Bikeway, but I think it's the Great Northern Greenway, something like that. I should really learn the name of that. And it basically stretches from New Brighton to the river, but like so much bicycle infrastructure, it's frequently interrupted for other infrastructure. So there's some gaps in the system. We're gonna go left here. The Great Northern Greenway. The Greenway goes off to the right, but it's basically a two-way shared use path that they had room to put in. And we're glad to have it, but it, stops at every intersection or gets interrupted by cars at every intersection and stuff. The stuff they build today, there's a lot better stuff going in today, but this is where it starts. Everywhere you go in Northeast Minneapolis, you get interrupted by railroad tracks. So to our left and right are two railroad bridges. I believe these are BNSF tracks. And trains run on them all the time. And we're about to go to the Northrop King building, which is an old seed factory and is in this location because of these railroad tracks. They're an old Minneapolis company. They still exist, but they're no longer in this building. The building was purchased years and years ago. The history of the Arts District is downtown Minneapolis used to be an industrial center, and when that went away, as industries changed, you had a lot of beautiful, big, vacant buildings. And artists moved in, took over the spaces, live workspace, and artists did what they did. They made the area cool and safe for white people. And so the property values went up, and a lot of the landlords converted their buildings to condos, and the artists got priced out. And this is not a story that's unique to Northeast Minneapolis. That's what happened. And they all moved over to Northeast, starting with I believe the California building, might have been the Casket building, but John and Jennifer are artists from those days. And they bought a building and made it artist worthy and brought the artists over, and that was the seed that planted the tree. We'll stop and talk about the bricks for a minute. Okay. And now there are thousands of artists in Northeast Minneapolis, and it became the Northeast Arts District.
What am I looking at? These bricks?
We're looking at bricks. We're looking at the street. This is Quincy and 14th. This is a old industrial street. These are all buildings that have been converted to artist studios and apartments and breweries, and Sign Minds makes like just about every sign in Northeast Minneapolis. That's Northrop King. That is the biggest artist building in Northeast Minneapolis. There's over 300, I think it might be 400 artists in that building. These are all like small businesses, you know, with sometimes one employee. But like, these are jobs. These are people living and working in Northeast, sometimes just working. But this intersection is kind of the epicenter of Art-A-Whirl every year, which attracts 40, 50, 60,000 people over the weekend in May. This year it's May 16th, 17th, and 18th, and you should come. It's amazing. I hope this video is done in time. And it ranges over the whole arts district, but this is kind of the heart because there's so many artists that live on this street, this intersection. I wanted to stop and talk about this spot specifically because it is in project mode. It has never been reconstructed. It's more than 100 years old. That is a long time for street infrastructure, and it needs to be torn up. We need to get at the plumbing underneath the sewers and the water pipes and all that stuff. But because it has never been redone, it was built as a brick street, it's been patched and covered with asphalt, but because it has never been redone, it is in terrible shape, which means it is kind of lousy for driving, which means cars go slow, which means it is great for walking, it is great for riding, it is a safer street because traffic goes slow, and it has become a de facto shared street. The pedestrian infrastructure is terrible. It basically doesn't exist. There's a tiny bit of sidewalk there. There's huge gaps. The curbs are falling apart. And that means if you're gonna walk on the street, you have to walk in the street. And people do. And because the cars are going slow, it's no big deal. Nobody interferes much with anybody else. It is a great place to walk. The fact that people walk in the streets and they frequent the breweries and the restaurants activates this street. It energizes this street. It makes this a great place to be in the evenings. During the day, it's a working street, the artists and businesses, but especially during the evenings, this is just a great place to just stroll because you have all of this space, you have all of this character. In that way, is sort of festival ready. It is the reason that the Art-A-Whirl plants itself every year in this spot. But there are several arts festivals that happen here throughout the year and markets and things because it is viewed by the community as a pedestrian accessible street. It needs some things. It's not an accessible street. If you need a wheelchair or something, this is a terrible place to be. So that stuff needs to be upgraded. But the city wants to put in sidewalks and asphalt and increase the speed to 30 miles an hour and basically take this away from pedestrian access. That is their standard playbook. That is what they do. They're not trying to screw anybody. That's just the tools available in their tool belt. So we are working to try to preserve the street, not preserve the crappiness of it, but preserve the bricks, preserve the character, and preserve the shared aspects so that this can remain an artist street, a working street, a festival street, a people-first street. The success of the Arts District relies, I believe, heavily on the success of Art-A-Whirl and the ability of these kinds of streets to be activated for those kinds of events and the people of Northeast Minneapolis. Yeah, well, so we got Architectural Antiques back there on our right. Indeed Brewery owns one of these buildings. This is the Quincy building over here, which is just like a rentable space. There's the Northeast Farmers Market. These are artist studios with apartments. I think there's a photography studio that has the whole first floor. This is a marketing firm, live workspace. Yeah, they built this building. They live in there. Booch is right here, which is kombucha that they brew here in this building. Right behind that is Minnesota Nice Cream. which is delicious soft serve ice cream. And they have totally great regular ice cream, but then they also have really good vegan ice cream. And that is Quincy Avenue, capped on the other side of Broadway by Uncle Frankie's.
Oh my God, look at Uncle Frank.
Yeah.
Uncle Frankie's.
Which is like just the greasiest burgers. All right, you ready? This is Monroe. Northeast streets are the presidents in order by election year. So it starts with Washington and then it goes from there. And I don't know.
Just in case you were wondering where all the liberal elites live.
Yes.
It's right here.
Yeah. We try to avoid the slave owners' streets. Yeah.
That's tough.
This is, I mean, we're pretty close to downtown now. Still a lot of single family housing, kind of the best of both worlds in a lot of ways, if single family housing is your thing. So this is the Pioneer statue, a statue of some controversy. We are on Dakota and Anishinaabe land. When there's flare-ups in that kind of politics, people come down here and protest or deface. This is, I believe, the second location for this statue, and they're talking about moving it again, partially because it's not popular, but it's popular enough to be moved and find a new home. But I just wanted to touch on the idea that this is, I know a lot about like the European immigration of Northeast Minneapolis and Father Hennepin discovering the St. Anthony Falls, but our history starts at the end basically of 10,000 years of history of the local peoples that lived here for, you know, thousands and thousands of years, and watch the geography of this place change in all of that time. So to our right is the Hennepin Bridge. When it was built, it was the most expensive steel bridge in the country on a square foot basis. And he built the original bridge, which was the first span of the Mississippi right in this spot. And now there are, I believe, 19 Mississippi River bridges in Minneapolis. This section here is an old part of, I believe, the Broadway Bridge. I think there were 4 of these sections and they saved one of them and used it to make a bridge in this spot. 16 ways for cars to get across the river and 5, maybe 6 places for bicycles to cross the river, 3 of which are now closed and under construction for this summer. So that leaves us with 3 or 4 ways to get across the river and a dozen ways for cars to get across the river. But this is really a fantastic bridge. Really gorgeous. I don't know if it was worth the money, but certainly an asset of the city. This spot is where the No Pants Ride meets every year. July 4th, I think 6 p.m. Yeah. I've been to Burning Man many times. I've never participated in that kind of experience. But like hundreds and hundreds of people come to the Freedom from Pants Ride. Take a right.
Bunch of saddle sniffers.
Yeah. So this is Nicollet Island. We're on an island inside the Mississippi River. This is De La Salle High School.
Islanders.
The Islanders, one of the old schools of Minneapolis, which gives you a little more than 100 years of history. All right, this is downtown Minneapolis. We are in a painted bike lane next to cars doing 50 miles an hour in a 30 mile an hour zone. Actually, yeah, I think this is a county street, so the speed limit's still 30.
Really?
Yeah, well, so this is sort of the original downtown Minneapolis. And it looks super different than it did in the 1940s because of urban renewal. 25 blocks of downtown Minneapolis, all of our old architecture and personality was demolished in the name of urban renewal because of quote unquote blight, and as a solution for the poor. The destruction, of course, did nothing for the poor, and it did very little for Minneapolis. The debris is now under the Quarry Shopping Center in Northeast Minneapolis, and this flagpole is about all that's left of the original downtown. There was more downtown around those 25 blocks, but this was really the heart of the city. And they were able to, of course, widen the streets for cars and car infrastructure. And this went from a really walkable city with streetcars everywhere to a car-dominated city. This park was here, and at the end of it, where the glass building is, the Four Seasons, used to be the Nicollet Hotel. That was managed by my great-grandfather, Frank Woolsey. His son, Frank Jr., was my grandfather. He used to work there. His wife, my grandma, Doris Woolsey, would go down there and they would all eat at the Waikiki Room. Everybody ate at the Waikiki Room. They had barbecue sauce that everybody loved. And my grandma asked for the recipe and they said no. And so she set about trying to replicate the Waikiki Room's barbecue sauce, and she did her best. It became her signature sauce. Plenty of people in my family growing up know that recipe and would make that sauce. My uncle used to do impromptu barbecues at the Parkway Theater or baseball games or at his apartment, and people would come and they would ask if he had his mom's sauce. Like, okay, there's gonna be meats and things that you're barbecuing, but really, do you have your mom's sauce?
The recipe is buried somewhere under that.
Yeah, the official recipe. But that became, Scott, you got your mom.
Scott, you got your mom's sauce? Scott, you got your mama's sauce? Scott, your mama's barbecue sauce.
The Waikiki's poppied sauce, grandma, and it's still down there today. And not so much anymore, but people used to come in and eat the sauce and say, I haven't had a sauce like this since they tore down the Nicollet Hotel and the Waikiki Room. So she got pretty close, I would say.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so some personal history there. So I guess this was Prince's Club. This is where everybody wants to play, the legendary First Avenue. It used to be a Greyhound bus station and got converted to a landmark in Minneapolis. My cousin used to play here at the 7th Street entry, which is a tiny little venue, super loud, terrible acoustics, and the best party ever. Well, my whole thing is, I want to be in the street.
Yeah.
This, to a car, this looks like a sidewalk.
Yeah, right.
And drivers are not looking for bikes to come off of the sidewalk. We'll take a right and go down to Nicollet Mall. Dylan is not from Minneapolis, but he is from Minnesota. He was born in Minnesota. I don't know that he's that excited about it, but he's from Zimmerman, Minnesota.
No.
But we,
Hibbings.
Hibbings.
His last name is Zimmerman.
And yeah, that's right. But we like to claim him as our own.
So do I.
All right, let's take a right. This is City Hall, Minneapolis downtown City Hall. The mayor and city council meet in there. The federal courthouse on the left. The Hennepin County Courthouse on the right, which is built in the shape of a giant H. The building is their logo. You can't really tell from here, but it's kind of cool and kind of ridiculous at the same time. All right, so the barrel house is in front of us. It's now offices and stuff. The first Minneapolis co-op, and they built 600 barrels a day, flour barrels a day for the Minneapolis flour industry. We're gonna take a right into the driveway. The flour industry in Minneapolis will put Minneapolis on the map more than anything else. Flour milling was the first sort of automated industry, industrialized industry. That just means, we're gonna take a left here. You put wheat in the front of the system and you get flour out of the system. And that was all water powered. That was all here because of the St. Anthony Falls, which you should be able to see as we come around the corner here. There's a 50-foot drop from the top of the falls to the bottom, and that powered turbines, which powered the mills all along this area, all along the river. I think hundreds of mills. First it was logging, and then the flour milling, and we fed the world. Like millions of bags of flour a day came out of Minneapolis because of the St. Anthony Falls. The falls is the reason we have a city here at all. There is still electrical generation on the falls, but it's pretty minimal. So this is the 3rd Avenue Bridge. This is the lock and dam. The lock and dam is no longer functional. And then we have the famous Stone Arch Bridge, which is under construction. I believe they're replacing the deck, but it's an old rail bridge. James J. Hill, I believe, built this bridge to bring trains into Minneapolis. This was full of rail yards, raised rail yards. Everything in front of us is old mills. We're gonna ride on a mill race where they brought water into the city to go into the mills. This wooden pathway covers what was water before. This is a channel where they would bring water into the city from above the falls, drop it into the mills, spin the turbines, make flour, and then the water would shoot out back into the river below us by the Stone Arch Bridge here. That's called a tail race. So there would have been mills on both sides of this mill race that we're riding on. And then I think there was another mill race on the other side of these buildings. Like the power of the water built this city. It was free electricity. They had to build the infrastructure, but then once it was in place, just run it as much as they possibly could. Pillsbury, General Mills, Washburn, titans of industry all grew up in this town. Cargill. You can see the Pillsbury A mill across the river there. And then this is the famous Guthrie Pier, the bridge to nowhere, or the bridge to infinity. This is the Guthrie Theater. Beautiful piece of Minneapolis architecture. And then beyond it is Gold Medal Park. But we ride that line all the time of, should we be a for-profit or a non-profit bike shop? Being a used bike shop, we have a strong purpose, a strong non-financial mission. But I just feel like we have more flexibility, more freedom to do the actions we think are effective as a for-profit. We don't have a board. We don't have to comply with grant applications and qualifications and all those pieces. We could just build and sell bikes, and as long as that pays the bills, we can keep doing it.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about it at Gibbs.
Yeah. The used bike world is no place to get rich.
No.
You gotta love it. You gotta have a purpose.
This is why I have YouTube. Send me super thanks because I still want to get rich. That may be the biggest difference between the two of us.
I'm not opposed to getting rich.
Oh, okay. That's just me too. I could be more aggressive. You
Yeah.
need me to be.
I mean, the more money we make, the more we can accomplish,
That's my thought.
you know? Well, these are the beaches of my childhood. Yeah. And we didn't make it over to Cedar Lake that much, but just always took this stuff for granted as a kid. It's always fun to show it off. So this is what's his name? Cleveland, last name Cleveland, designed the Grand Rounds. And Grand Rounds is the chain of rivers, lakes, creeks, falls that surround and infiltrate the whole of Minneapolis. And somebody else had named it the Grand Rounds, but one of the few places where the riverfronts are public property. So many cities sold off their riverfronts for the cash, and they're just not accessible to the people that live there.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's a huge asset to the city. Makes it much more livable for everybody. And I got to imagine increases the property values for everybody, instead of just the people that live on the water. You can only sell the water once. This thing whistles and hums in the wind. It moves and makes noise. All right, here's your houses. Used to jump off of this bridge as a kid. Beautiful views of downtown skyline. Yeah. Start with the bike. We really should be doing this in the summer.
Yeah.
When everybody's out. We'll do it again when we get both of those mics working.
Yeah. Lots more to explore.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We could do this. The whole channel could just be about Minneapolis or one city.
Primo Minneapolis real estate.
Yeah. Mary Tyler Moore's house is over here. Lake of the Isles. It's got two islands in the middle. And it's a man-made lake. It was marsh. And they piled all the fill into the middle and made islands. Sculpted it like this. And the islands are bird sanctuaries. You're not allowed to go out to the islands. There's tons of kayaking and paddleboarding and all that stuff, and you're not allowed to set foot on the islands. I think this whole lake is like 8 feet deep or something. It's very shallow. But they used to do a lot of that, a lot of land sculpting. That was the thing. Now you're like not allowed to touch shorelines, disturbing the nature. So little of it is natural. This is a big ice skating rink in the winter. There's the warming house. With that walled compound behind it. I mean, so many of these have like carriage houses and stuff behind them. It's just
where they keep all their bikes.
yes, right. This is where we would come to dream when I was a kid. Used bicycle mogul that I am. Let's just go straight through downtown.
Okay. I'll follow you. Go as fast as we possibly can.
Okay. Not that aggressive. Excuse us. Wait a second. I don't know. It's like a bag or something. Pouch.
You put your weed in it.
I guess.
It looks like weed.
That's my guess.
Nice.
Put it in your wallet.
Yeah.
I got all excited for a second, and then I was really disappointed. This is where the Guthrie used to be. And this is St. Patrick's Cathedral on our right, and then the Basilica across the way.
That's Loring Park, right?
This is Loring Park, home of Minneapolis Pride Festival every year. Another very sculpted park. That's totally normal. We're gonna cut through this alley just because it's a really cool alley.
I like that, because otherwise don't you have to like cut through a building over there? I tried doing this one, but I got all turned around. I ended up like,
It's not easy, but it's doable.
oh, went through the alley. Yeah, for sure.
This is just such a great walkable space, commercial space.
Smells old in here.
I know. Cherry Cycles used to be here. Minneapolis by Bike used to be here. In this little space. Fox Coffee Alley. That's cool. This is Minneapolis Community and Technical College,
Okay. Hence the students.
hence the students.
And I could go to technical college here.
Yeah, right in the city.
Study machining.
Beautiful park, right in the heart of downtown. We got a protected bike path here.
Oh yeah, that's the way to go.
And then back in the street and paint.
Yeah.
MCTC has a really cool bike program.
Yeah.
They have one of the only mechanic classes, bicycle mechanic classes.
Yeah.
You can see the grain belt sign from here.
Yeah.
This is Hennepin, straight through downtown. And we're just gonna fly.
St. Thomas on our right. Orpheum and Pantages Theaters ahead of us. The legendary saloon. Hennepin is kind of the main drag. These old streets used to have streetcars. There were 1,000 streetcars in Minneapolis in the 50s. We built streetcars for the rest of the country.
Wow.
The Minnesota winters were so harsh. We were like, forget it, we're building our own dang streetcars. And they were fantastic. They still exist in places like San Francisco and Philadelphia, you know, like one-offs. Here comes the blue line. No, that one's green. Rolling. That's the fun stuff. Hopefully some of that'll look cool.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So there's a back door, huh?
There's a back door. Yeah, the test rides go out the back door.
Okay.
Ba-ba-ba.
The back door needs an entrance.
That's right.
You know, that's really good news.
Double entrance.
That went way better than I expected.
Good.
Thank you, Seth,
Yeah,
at Recovery
absolutely.
Bike Shop in Minneapolis. And yeah, if you ever have a chance to come up, bring your bike and go for a bike ride. The infrastructure here is great, especially in the grand rounds around the lakes. They have maps, and you can ride around all the lakes or just one lake or whatever. You can do as many miles as you want. I've done it a million times. It's just gorgeous over there. I love the houses, and in the middle of summer, man, what a city. So thank you.
Come for a ride with us. We do rides twice a week.
Yep.
hang
Sundays,
out.
right? You do the coffee outside?
Sundays, coffee outside. Wednesdays, we do a social ride.
All right, there you have it. Show up and come meet Seth yourself. Buy a bike or look at all the bikes he's got, because he's got 4 million of them.
Yeah, we got quite a variety.
All right, thanks for watching. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you and your bikes can stay tuned.